I apologize. Or am I on? Oh, there we go. I apologize for interrupting some people's meal time here, but we'll proceed and obviously continue to eat, not during the songs. If you will, let's take a moment and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as we're all standing, we have a few people that we'd like to, of course, recognize in our time of memory and silence. Julie Huseman, Peggy Johnson, Jeff's wife's brother passed away about 2 weeks ago. Doris Goring is in hospice. And are there any others that you know of that we should take a moment of silence and remember for? With that, let's take a few moments to just give our praise and thanks for their lives. Thank you. And now we get the opportunity. Please be seated. Well, it's been a while. We haven't had an opportunity for a bit to be able to introduce guests with us. And so we'll let Jenny, if you would start and introduce your guests. Oh, I don't have a, how are we going to do that? Have Jenny introduce your guest. They probably can't hear you though. I'm sorry.
My guest today is no stranger to the club, Jamie Courtney of Iowa Home Crafters.
And then Roger, you have a special guest to introduce as well.
I have today with me my wife, Jeannie. We have a special reason for being here today. Our speaker was a high school graduate and a classmate of ours.
And then Jim felt he needed some protection, so he brought on some safety, and he brought his wife, Beth. Beth, if you go ahead and please stand in your hands. Oh, yeah, please. And Heidi Craig. Both from Blessman International. Well, you're married to Blessman International. Yeah. And with that, let's welcome our guest.
Welcome to Monte Grocery, the Bay of London, or Gateway. From far off lands or the USA, we're glad that you are here today. Come back again whenever you're near. Join us and then we'll make it clear. Around the world you will always be welcome at Rotary.
And one more, Louis, just before we do that, one more, you know what? Harold, I forgot to announce you're back with us. And he hasn't been able to join with us, and we'd like to just give our appreciation to have you back in our midst. Thank you.
Now, this is the last time we'll be singing this song here for a while, or any other song. And we've got a special one for our guest speaker today we thought would be appropriate for the occasion. It's called He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. Sarah. He got the whole world In his hands, he's got the whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother. In his hands, he's got you and me, sister. In his hands, he's got everybody here. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands.
And we will continue with announcements after our presentation. So we want to take that opportunity now to introduce somebody who truly exemplifies service above self. Dr. Jim Blessman founded Blessman Ministries in 2001 with his wife Beth after receiving a call to move from success to significance in medical missions. Jim practiced medicine for 30 years, 30 successful, well, I'm glad they were successful. 30 successful years, directing the Pain Center of Iowa and starting the free clinics of Iowa. Before early retirement and moving into ministry. 20 years later, Blessman International was established as an expansive ministry to orphans, vulnerable children, and families in South Africa, all areas of emphasis for Rotary International. Through feeding centers, water and sanitation, sports programs, celibate recovery, HIV/AIDS education, and the building of homes through job creation and textile construction and agriculture, Jim and Beth have truly made a lasting impact on the country that is paving the way for thousands to experience eternal hope to conquer physical strongholds. It is my privilege to present Dr. Jim Blessman.
Thank you. It's good to be with you guys. Thank you for welcoming us. And you sing better than most Rotaries I ever visit. And I visit a lot of Rotary clubs. So congratulations to you guys. Just want to give you a little history. And I'll start out with my Rotary moment. I don't know if you guys do that, but a lot of clubs do. I joined Rotary about a dozen years ago. When I was practicing medicine, I always felt like I was too busy to go to Rotary. And once I got involved, I wished I'd have been in it for all the years that I practiced medicine. It's a wonderful organization. But I got involved in South Africa. I had a team of Americans with me, and we were visiting a little souvenir shop. And the owner got to talking to me, and he wondered why all those Americans were there spending their money and making him some money. And I told her story, and he said, well, would you come and speak at my Rotary? And I love to go speak at places. And so I went and presented to the Rotary what we were there doing. And we were there doing eye tests on children, giving out free glasses. And I gave about a 15-minute presentation and walked out with a $10,000 pledge for a matching grant. And I thought, boy, Rotary is pretty good. So I came home to Des Moines and checked it out and have been a member ever since. I'm a member of the E-Club in South Africa. We call it the Baobab E-Club. I used to be a member of another club there, and they made me an honorary member because I wasn't meeting their attendance requirements. They're pretty strict in South Africa. And if you miss too many meetings, it puts a bad mark on the club's record. So they decided I should be an honorary member. But now I'm an official member of an E-Club. We meet every other week on Zoom, and I get to about 95% of the meetings now. It's much easier. Give you a little history of Blessman International. I practiced medicine in Iowa, in Des Moines, until 2001. And then I became a full-time missionary. My wife and I felt God calling us to do that. It started with us going on mission trips or mission teams. And we did that for probably 7-8 years before we decided that was something that we should move into full-time. And it was a little bit of a scary move. In fact, when you get a call from God, it's almost always scary. But anyway, it was June of 2001, and we all know what happened in September of 2001. And I just made a deal with God that I thought I could afford to retire that early. And then 2001 hit, and I had to question whether that was a good decision. God and I made a deal that I would try it for 2 years, 2 weeks, 2 years. And if it didn't work out, I was going to go back and open my office. But it's been an incredible journey. We've traveled the world and just had a wonderful time and really feel like we are able to make a difference. First few years, we didn't settle down. We literally traveled in over 75 countries. And they're all third world countries. They aren't the kind of places that most physicians go and do holidays or vacations. We traveled in places that are incredible, needy, and it was just a blessing to be able to serve. But after a while, that got to feeling pretty superficial. And so we put our roots down in Africa, and we're located in the country of South Africa. It's a beautiful part of the world. We live up in the mountains, about 3 hours north of Johannesburg. We built our own home there. In fact, we lived like gypsies for probably about 4 years. And had I not built a nest for my wife, she wouldn't still be with me. But we have a beautiful home there. It's as nice as the home we have here in Iowa. And we built it to host and have many people come and stay with us. It's our real joy when churches and Rotary and service groups and colleges come and want to experience South Africa with us. We've had over 1,100 people come, most of them for a 2-week short-term service or mission trip. And when we first built our home, we didn't have a lodge. And so I designed it big enough to house about 15 people. And my wife was here in the States when I designed it and built it. And she got there and she said, "Why so big?" And then a couple of years later, we were able to build a beautiful lodge that will sleep 20, 25 people. And it's literally a first-class type lodge. We're on a safari farm. We have all kinds of game around our area. And you go out for a walk in the morning, you'll see zebras, giraffe, and all kinds of antelope. And it's just a beautiful place to live. And the place we serve is just a half hour down the road. And that's where the poverty is, and that's where we have built our ministry. We're probably most famous for our feeding program. Heidi, do you want to come up and keep me on time? Because there's no clock in this room, and that's dangerous. I could talk all afternoon. When you guys start walking out, I know I've ran out of time. But probably the biggest program we have is feeding kids. We currently are feeding 60,000 children in South Africa, and most of those kids get a meal Monday through Friday. Probably you're close enough to Des Moines that most of you probably package the meals from the Heartland, the rice packets. Are you familiar with that? We get 11 shipping containers of that every year. And come on up here, help me. This is Heidi Kramer, who works in our office. She's head of development. And she is just going with me on a few of these Rotary presentations. And when I get back to Africa, she's going to keep going around and visiting Rotary clubs. So thank you for welcoming her here today too. But our feeding program, again, is 60,000 kids. And how do you feed 60,000 kids? We started out with 300 children that we fed for 2 years. And here we are 10 years later, feeding 60,000 kids. You guys that have helped with the Meals from the Heartland, you're helping us feed those kids. And we really appreciate it. And thank you for that. The way we accomplish it is we have feeding hubs throughout Southern Africa. Our furthest one away from us is down in Cape Town, and that's about a 2-hour jet flight from where we stay in the northern part of South Africa. South Africa is about twice the size of Texas, so it's a pretty good sized country. We have a feeding center in Durban with Focus on the Family. The one in Cape Town is with a Baptist union of 140 churches that help distribute the food out. Then we have a couple of feeding centers or hubs in Johannesburg, and each hub has 10 to sometimes 40, 50 churches or feeding centers that they distribute the rice packets out to. So that's how we get to those big numbers that we actually are feeding children. COVID helped us. COVID didn't do a lot for many people, but it did help us. It helped us to learn to communicate better virtually. I'm on Zoom calls probably at least 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and most of the time in the morning because it's 7 hours later in Africa. So we're on Zoom calls every Wednesday for an hour. We have all of those hubs sign in, and we talk about the stresses, the difficulties of feeding kids, and especially the last several months during COVID, we had all kinds of government restrictions and lockdowns. And the last 3 weeks, we've been battling with riots and burning and looting. We lost almost a whole container of food in Durban. A warehouse burned, and we had it full of food. And so there are a lot of stresses and struggles when you're feeding hungry kids, but it's amazing how effective it can be when you network and you got good staff. We have about 40 paid staff and probably 200 or 300 volunteer staff that helps us do all the work that we're doing in South Africa. Do you want to tell them a little bit about our child sponsorship program? And thank you.
In last year, we launched a child sponsorship program called One Child at a Time. So we have children that were identified at our Del Kramer Child Development Center, and we match those with sponsors here in the United States. And it's only $1 a day where they can help with faith formation and feeding and just these after school programs for the children. And we the sponsors will write a letter to the children and the children will write letters to the sponsors. And I will tell you, I visited South Africa for the first time in May. I joined the organization last October. And one of the highlights of my trip for sure was meeting the young girl that my husband and I sponsored, Johanna, just getting to meet her in person. And she's so sweet and kind, but there's so many children that have that need to be sponsored. And we're going to be launching soon a new program where there will be more children that can be sponsored.
Thanks, Heidi. And if any of you want to sponsor a child, let us know. That's not what we're here asking for today. We're asking for bigger money than that. But if you'd like to have a relationship with a child in South Africa that you can actually come and visit someday and meet face to face, and you write letters back and forth every quarter, let us know and we'd be happy to sign you up for that. We're only sponsoring about 300 children out of the 60,000. We cannot arrange for you to have a relationship with 60,000 children. That's just above and beyond what we can figure out how to do so far. We may learn that someday. But anyway, if you're interested in that, let us know. Other things we do, we're there primarily making children's lives better. One of the things we started this last year was the Sports for Christ program. And kids in Africa love sports just like kids all over the world. Sports in Africa is soccer. And the girls play a sport called netball. It's very similar to American basketball. And they'll play just out on the dirt field. There's hardly any grass. They just play in the dirt, and they'll sometimes even have a wad of tape or something for a soccer ball. And so they make do with whatever they have. But we put together a proper soccer complex for them and developed a league of 8 teams. We have 8 churches that partner together. Each church fields a team of netball and soccer, and they meet on our campus every Saturday, and they have fun and they have games. And about 2 times a year, we have a tournament and select the best team and give them a trophy. This last year, we're building a proper sports complex. We got a beautiful grass field. It's regulation size, beautiful goals with nets, which you hardly ever see in African villages. They're just make do, and we wanted something they could be proud of and enjoy and feel like they're more professional. The netball, we poured a concrete court for them to play on. Typically, the netball is a basketball hoop without a backboard and a naked rim without a net, and so they don't want a backboard on it. That's the way it is. But they do have a net on the one we have, and they're just having an incredible time playing sports and doing it with upgraded equipment. I don't know if you guys know of Musco Lighting in Oskaloosa. They agreed this year to light up our sports field. So we're going to have the only place in the village that has sports lighting, and it's just going to be an incredible thing. They were going to do it in September, but with the riots and increase in COVID, they're telling me it'd probably be October, maybe November now. But still, amazing things that we're able to do with lots of people helping us in sports. You want to go celebrate recovery?
We have a Celebrate Recovery program, which is similar to Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's faith-based, and it's for the children or the youth in high school. age. And it started in the schools, but with COVID, we now hold it in our church, Lighthouse Church. And they come, there's about 80 or so kids that come on Friday. And there's a worship service with music and a message. And then they break into small groups, the young men and women, and they really share. But it's really helping the youth deal with a lot of hurts and hangups that they're facing. And so it's just really great that they're able to come and talk through some things and help one another through these challenges. And the program is based out of Saddleback Church in California. And so we are blessed to have help from some leaders from Saddleback. And the Lutheran Church of Hope in West Des Moines has a leader. So we meet with them once a week on Zoom with our Celebrate Recovery leaders in South Africa. And some of those leaders that help with the children, they were also in the program, the Child Development Center program. So they've really grown up and have just had a wonderful impact on the kids because they can relate to things that they're all going through. So it's been a really great program and the children are benefiting from it greatly.
Thanks, Heidi. Yes, it's one of my favorite programs. It is absolutely changing lives of young people in South Africa. We do it for high school age kids. The first week we started the program, there'd been a sophomore boy killed himself. And I was able to stand up in front of 1,100 children and tell them we had a program that would prevent or could prevent suicide. And they bought it. They believed me and they started coming in. The first week, 80 children showed up and they kept coming every week and they learned to heal each other's lives. And once this COVID thing is over, we're going to open in 2 additional high schools. And we had to move that original program into our church during COVID. So probably in 3 months, we'll have 3 big Celebrate Recovery programs going on every week. And soon we hope to open it up in the provincial prison in Polokwane. So it's a great way to improve people's lives. I went over there thinking we wanted to plant churches, and we did plant 2 churches, but from now on, I've kind of given up on planting churches. We're going to plant new Celebrate Recovery programs. We can do it almost for free. We get a school to agree to host us, and we've got staff, volunteer staff, and so we can really impact many, many lives with a program like Celebrate Recovery. Before we run out of time, I got to start talking about what we're here to ask you for, money. We have been doing Rotary Global Grants now for the last 4, maybe approaching 5 years. Our first one we did 4 or 5 years ago, and I think it's similar to what your club has done. It's water and sanitation. And we made a global grant proposal. We got Hy-Vee Corporate to partner with us. And the grant was, we were awarded about $161,000. And for that, we drilled 12 wells. And just incredible success. Hy-Vee was very impressed. And they've kept working with us following that original grant 4 years or a little more ago. And they continue to fund new wells. We're up to 31 wells that we've drilled, majority of them funded by Hy-Vee and Rotary. A few churches will come along the way, a few individuals, and they see that that's a valid, good program. We're doing a good job with it. And so we've got a system working. Anytime we pour in money, we can deliver wells on the other side. Wells are about $15,000 each, and it's an incredible blessing for our part of the world. It's way, way too dry there all the time. And so lots of schools and communities still need wells, and we'll continue doing it. The next global grant we did was in farming. Imagine that, here from Iowa and Iowa State. We decided we wanted to see if we could make a difference in agriculture. And we purchased a 150-acre farm to supplement the feeding program that we're doing. And the important thing, we thought we need to really be training Africans how to farm. There's a cultural shift that's happening in South Africa that many of you probably don't know about. But in the past, it's been the big white farmers. They have big farms and very productive, just like an Iowa farmer. But those days are going to change. Someday the Africans, the Black Africans, are going to control all the land, and they need to learn how and to be able to farm. They've worked as slave labor on the farms a lot of their lives, but they've never really been trained to be the farmer. So we put together with Rotary a grant to put gardens in schools, and we do it very properly. We studied 20 schools and picked 10 of them that would be a successful program. And we bring 5 individuals from each school into our farm, and they have classroom training for a week and then a couple days out in the fields in practical training. And then after they've completed the training, they get a certificate, and then our staff goes to their school and we plant the garden with them. And we put up a water storage tower to mix chemicals and irrigate. We do drip irrigation, build a fence around the garden. And the garden's large enough to feed all the kids in the school. So we're feeding about 7,500 children with those 10 gardens. They're about 3 years old, and 8 of them are still functioning very well, even in spite of the lockdown through COVID. When the schools did well, Rotary has a committee that meets every quarter, and we decided there was some money left over, and we went around to those 8 schools that were doing well, and we added shade netting to their gardens. So they got rewarded for doing a good job, and they're still helping feed kids. We called that Teach a Child to Fish, and that was about a $145,000 grant. Our next one was menstrual health. You want to tell them that? If there's time.
We have a program that we work with Days for Girls. It's an organization that sews and provides reusable feminine hygiene kits. So they're washable. So when we'll go to a school and we'll provide a health lesson, some information about their menstrual cycle and just, abstinence before marriage. And then we'll provide them these reusable feminine hygiene kits, because so many young women, they miss so many days of school throughout the year when they have their menstrual cycle. So these kits are a wonderful way for them to be able to go to school in dignity and have these reusable kits that they can attend school throughout the year. And it's just been a huge blessing to be able to provide. We've provided about 10,000 kits so far, and we have a lot more to provide through this grant.
This grant is typical of Rotary grants. They're all well planned out, and they need to show that they have a high chance of being sustainable. This grant also provides training for 25 ladies to learn how to sew and sewing machines. So they set up their own little business and become entrepreneurs. That one was for $100,000. We're just now starting the training of those 25 ladies, and we'll be distributing the 10,000 kits over the next 18 months. Finally, our 4th global grant was to build toilets. I have a priest friend in West Des Moines, and he's been over with us 6 times, 7 times. Father Ray at the largest Catholic church in Iowa, and they love what we're doing, and they decided they wanted to help us build toilets. He loves to tell his parishioners that they're helping us build brick shit houses. But anyway, in Africa, in a lot of parts all around the world, if you've done traveling in third world, the toilets are just awful. They're disgusting, they're dangerous. Actually, every couple of years, a child will fall in these outhouses and drown down in the poo. And so when we learned that, we really felt a strong calling that we must do something to make this part of children's lives better. And so we started building toilets. We build them to the standard of the government, the Department of Education in our area. And they are very nice brick buildings. The plumbing of it is very similar to what you'd find up in Rocky Mountain National Park, where there's no water. So it goes into a permanent storage, guaranteed not to leak for 50 years. And then we have a way of harvesting the solids. The liquids just evaporate. We harvest the solids out and compost them, so we even recycle that. But so far, we built 220 toilets. Each one is $5,700. We built $1.2 million worth of toilets, and part of that was a successful global Rotary grant for $200,000. And now we're going to repeat that grant, and that's what we're here for, money. We want to raise a $250,000 grant. And you all know, you've been through the matches that global grants have. I'm presuming we need to raise about $150,000 to reach a total of 250, and we're up around 120 already. So if you want to jump on board and be part of this, you better do it today, or at your very next board meeting, or other clubs are going to get ahead of you. But it really is a wonderful project, and I think we will show the video. Who is helping us with that? All right. This will show you a little bit in pictures what that project is, and I'll hang around afterwards for a few minutes if you have any questions. Excuse me. Didn't Heidi do a good job? She raises lots and lots of money.
Full screen. Here we go.
In 2009, Dr. Jim Blessman, the founder and CEO of Blessman International, was invited to Rotary International in South Africa. From that meeting, a grant was made, and from that grant, Blessman International distributed 10,000 pairs of eyeglasses to people in South Africa. Hello, my name is Marvin. I'm the chaplain for the United States team with our office in Urbandale, Iowa. And during those last 12 years, Dr. Blessman has only increased and strengthened the connection and relationship. In fact, Doc is a Rotarian. I'd like to tell you about 4 significant projects funded by Rotary International and completed by Blessman International. The first one is a project to bore wells and install water storage and distribution systems at rural schools. So far, 31 schools have these systems functioning. The second one is a program called Teach a Child to Fish. 50 students and teachers were trained at our Mountain View Research and Training Farm. They went to their schools and planted gardens. Now, these vegetables that grow are rich in the micronutrients that the young learners need. And in fact, studies show that their visual acuity and their ability to learn is measurably increased from these vegetables. In fact, over 7,500 students have benefited just in the last 2 years. The third one is a project done in partnership with Days for Girls. And in this project, 25 seamstresses sewed 10,000 washable feminine hygiene kits so that the girls who receive these are in school instead of staying home during their periods. And the fourth one is sanitary, sustainable, safe, and dignified toilet facilities. So far, 215 have been constructed, and that's the opportunity that you have an opportunity to consider today. There are over 24,000 public schools in South Africa. Only 8,000, 1 in 3, provide safe, dignified, properly functioning toilets. Because of dilapidated toilets, many children face the danger of falling into the pits below and choose to relieve themselves elsewhere on or near the school grounds. Blessman International partners with Enviroloo to construct safe, sanitary, and sustainable solutions to this waste management issue. Enviroloo's waterless composting toilets provide facilities in which learners relieve themselves safely and with dignity.
Before we have the toilet roll from Blessman, we use the old one here. We are very happy because now we have the toilet from Blessman. Don't have any problem when the rain is raining, when the sun is very hot. The children are all inside the toilet. We are very happy. Thank you, Blessman, for everything that you have done for us.
And now here in the middle of 2021, this opportunity presents itself. The co-sponsors for this grant are in Polokwane, South Africa, and also the Rotary International chapter in Mesa, Arizona. So they're sponsoring the grant, and funds raised by your chapter will be matched by Rotary International, and this money will be used to fund even more Enviroloo toilets. So far, $100,000 has already been raised, and the goal is $250,000. So, please consider making an impact by contributing to this grant, and you'll provide safe, dignified facilities for the beautiful children in South Africa. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, thanks for watching that. In summary, if you get a global grant, you guys know it well, you have to have a host club overseas, and that's the Polokwane Club, which is a Rotary club that I visit often. I go to about 3 different clubs in Africa when I'm there. And then we have to have a US host club, and that's Mesa West. We also are interested in multiple districts contributing to this. So we have Huntington Beach, California has already contributed $5,000. So their district will put in a match of that. I don't know exactly how much yet. Also, there's a couple of other clubs in the Phoenix area that are going to be part of this or pledging. And we have one of our biggest individual donors is from Pennsylvania, and he's going around speaking in Rotary clubs in Pennsylvania. So we got a lot of potential to raise probably more money than our goal. But I would like to invite you to participate and be part of this. And like I say, I'll stick around a little while and visit if you have any questions. Before I get kicked off this stage, though, I want to talk to you about coming to South Africa with us on a Rotary service trip. We do one of those every year. Our next one was supposed to be October 7th, but a group of those Rotarians got cold feet and they're postponing. So they're not coming October 7th, and they're going to pick a date in 23, and I think they're looking at May, but they haven't even selected for sure the date they're coming. But we do a trip, or we try to do a trip every year with Rotarians. When you're there, I take you around to a couple of Rotary clubs. We show you all the projects we've been talking to you about today, and we get you out on a photo safari and just have lots and lots of fun and put you to work in serving. And so that's what Rotary is all about. So I would encourage you to think about, pray about joining us on a mission team or service team to the country of South Africa. I'll answer any questions that we have time for. Otherwise, you got some other business you probably want to do.
Is it? Yeah. So are there any questions? If not, I get to get back up there. So, oh, great. Thank you.
When you put in those environmental loose, what were you actually buying when you said that number you put out?
What are we buying for $5,700?
Yeah.
It's
the building and all
it's the bricks, the plumbing part of it, the labor, and actually Rotary forces us to do a fairly sophisticated needs analysis and then follow up for the next 3 to 5 years. So it's not all just bricks and mortar, but that's the complete cost when we average all of them we've done. And that's per stall, not per building like you saw. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim. As recognition of our time to be shared with you, we are sponsors of Racing Readers, and we'd like your autograph. And this will be presented to a 2-year-old at their checkout for good health. So thank you, and thank you for that. So again, a great example of Rotary being involved, and another one of a handout, not a handout, but a hand up to help those in need. So just wonderful to have that. We have a few announcements we'd like to share here. Well, you know what? A historical moment is occurring today. This is the last time in 44 years this club will be at this venue. And in appreciation of the service we've received, we would like to honor those who have helped us all these many years and stood by us, served us wonderful meals, and we just want to recognize the staff and people involved helping us out. So thank you. You know, specifically, what do I have here? Bob, Marilyn, and Tara. So we just want to as part of that, if you're so inclined, I'm gonna ask for money. Leave $1 or $2 on the table maybe for the staff as a farewell greeting farewell honor. In addition, $1 or 10 or 20. As a reminder for our upcoming sessions, we have Ames 2020. That will be a Zoom meeting next week. Then the following, we will have You Are Rotary, and that's Steve Dakin and Dave Cook will be visiting with us on membership. That'll be a hybrid meeting, and that's going to be held at the Iowa State Alumni Center and the Ryman Room. So make sure you mark your calendars on that. And then, how ironic, Jim, look at the one that's following that. It's a presentation from Muscle Sports Lighting. I had an insight on that because that's my son-in-law.
Well, thank you.
You bet, yeah. And then August 23rd, we designate as a service project day. We actually won't be having a meeting on that Monday, but sometime during the month of August, we will do a service project. So in lieu of the meeting on the 23rd, we'll do a service. And right now we're scheduled to do tree watering at Tedesco. So we'll obviously keep you informed on when and how that will take place. But as dry as it's been, we don't want to lose those 125 trees we've already contributed. And then somebody's going to show up on August 30th. Dr. Winterstein will be with us. And again, that presentation will be done at the Iowa State Alumni Center. Any questions or thoughts on that? Before, I just want to again acknowledge our guests today. And Heidi, I guess we need to get you to become a Rotarian. So we'll put you on that list. We thank G for being with us today and joining Roger. And Jenny, thank you again for bringing your special guest, a reoccurrence. And we thank you for being with us. With that, let's go ahead and do the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?